Welcome to the Managing Drought in the Southern Plains webinar series offered by the Southern Climate Impacts Planning Program. This is an ongoing webinar series offered in association with NIDIS, NOAA, and the National Drought Mitigation Center. We plan to have a full briefing on the status of El Nino next week, October 11th, Thursday at 11 a.m. What's changed this week is we have had some rainfall across Oklahoma and Texas, and there's been some reservoir improvement in Texas, although we didn't see much runoff here in Oklahoma. There's moderate drought expansion in the north, though, where they didn't get the rainfall over the weekend, and the wet pattern, though, is looking like it's going to hang around a little bit. One other thing we're looking at is that the prospects for El Nino seem to be fading, and what that might mean for our region. Looking at this week's Drought Monitor map, we can see the continuing big blob of red across the middle part of the country, with the core of the drought up into Kansas and Nebraska, and it's some improvements here in Oklahoma. Texas, meanwhile, is kind of a mixed bag with some pockets of drought remaining. We can see in this last week, the boxes highlighted in yellow show that there has been an improvement in the more severe drought categories. The D2 through the D4 show a slight decrease, much of that across Oklahoma, southern Oklahoma at least, where they got some pretty good 2, 3, maybe 4 inch rains over the weekend. Looking further north, not much has changed in this pattern, and you can see in the highlighted yellow boxes that it's pretty much the same as it was in this past week. There is further east of there into Minnesota, there was an expansion of D1 conditions drought. When we look at the rainfall departures going from 7 days on the upper left to out to a year on the lower right, we can see that rainfall across Texas and southern Oklahoma in the last week and showing up also in 30 days. But as we look at longer scale, 6 months and year to date, we can still see large departures remaining, especially over towards Arkansas and Oklahoma. In the next 5 days, we see some prospects for continued rainfall, especially eastern Oklahoma, and Arkansas looks like it has a good shot of rainfall with the association of the front. And cooler weather indicated by the blue lines in the upper right diagram, showing a very cool week coming up for the next few days. Looking into next week, the wet pattern is expected to continue across much of the region, and a little bit warmer weather is shifting in from the west. As we look into Friday, October 12th through Thursday, October 18th. And that dryness in the northwest pattern is adding to some of the drought conditions up there. The 3-month outlook is still the same as from the last briefing. That hasn't changed, but we expect a new one in the next week or so. Still showing that warm pattern expected into the winter and wet pattern along the Gulf Coast. You mentioned the prospects of El Nino. We were looking at this as bringing some relief to the drought conditions, but the latest models show that it's tending back towards a neutral phase. For an El Nino, that has to be at the +5 level of that the diagram, or La Nina's -0.5. And we were just touching the El Nino status, but the models are indicating trending downwards, so we may not be getting the El Nino developed like we had hoped. The seasonal outlook still seems to have that wet pattern in mind, though, as it's showing improvement across Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas, and parts of Missouri, while the dry pattern is still shown to persist into Nebraska, Kansas, with their extreme and exceptional drought conditions, and then development in the northwest. As always, these and other materials are posted on a number of websites, the YouTube channel where these briefings are, as well as the SCIP homepage, and the NIDIS Drought portal, drought.gov, has a lot of great information on it as well. Please let us know how conditions are, and we hope that things are going well. And if you have any questions, please email us. Thank you, and have a great weekend.